It is our honor and pleasure to work with you in this way at this time. We have a special program designed for you this evening, and it is made possible by the newest qualities of the light that we have been describing to you over the last several weeks. The objective of this evening and our opening process with you is to use this light to wash away the debris of guilt that would cause you to believe that God is anything but joy. Now, we have worked with you regarding guilt quite regularly, both explicitly and implicitly. We have taught you of your innocence. We have guided you to an awareness of your innocence. And large, what you would call energetic clumps of guilt have been largely dissolved within your energy fields. And as you know, when any mass is dissolved, it is possible for debris to remain. Now, the energetic debris that remains in the human mind, and you are way showers, so you demonstrate the full eradication of guilt so that others can then allow the full eradication of guilt. The debris that remains is the cultural debris of unconsciously believing that it is a norm to have to sacrifice or experience pain or difficulty in order to grow. Now, what you already know is that by continually being in a state of surrender, for example, the channel is fond of teaching what the channel calls surrender lessons from A Course in Miracles, where statements such as, I don't know what anything is for, or I don't know what's in my own best interest, are used as ways to surrender the ego's resistance and allow God's grace to sweep through your energy. This idea, this consciousness, this attitude, and this energy of surrender is helpful for allowing God to move, and we would call them the very small particles of God that are now available to you that can move and move out debris. This idea of surrender is very useful, yes. In addition, by consciously allowing all remaining guilt and the cultural conditioning of guilt to be released is useful. So, yes, surrender is useful, and conscious release of the cultural conditioning of guilt is useful. The cultural conditioning of guilt being the false, largely unconscious, but deeply ingrained idea that there is some nobility, some holiness, some, as the channel would say, brownie points you get for suffering. There are no brownie points for suffering. It need not be in any way. The ego suffers when it believes something dear to it has been lost. But when the ego is dissolving and you consciously let go of that which no longer serves you, it is less likely that the ego would feel or fear loss. So there is no nobility. You do not get holy brownie points for suffering. So when you consciously release and let go, there is not a resistance to that which you no longer need being lifted, and therefore there is less suffering. Less resistance equals less suffering. And when you learn that suffering is unnecessary, your path gets easier. Now, one of the things that you have experienced is expansion and contraction, and you have believed this to be the norm as well. However, the new light that comes to the planet comes to such a degree now where the residual contractions from each expansion will be less and less and less. You have broken through to the degree that expansion can come and contractions will no longer be necessary. Thus, what the channel has jokingly called the guilt tax is being eradicated. We have worked with the channel on this over the last week, for after experiencing ecstasy, the channel caught a cold and of course called it the guilt tax. It was the soul's purpose to break through the pattern and the necessity of contraction. And this pattern being broken through for one, this pattern is broken through for many. A differing energy is now available. And that is what we share with you. So with that in mind, take a moment to breathe in the idea. I release any belief or desire to suffer, or that a suffering must accompany growth. I release any belief in or desire to suffer, or any belief that suffering must accompany growth. There is no price to be paid for my growth, and I now grow in grace. Breathe this in this in. And as you breathe, receive a new level and frequency of energy that we would offer to you now. Receive this healing light. We would work with you now in a process. We would ask you that to the best of your ability, from the deepest place within you, to answer this question. Take a moment to breathe and allow yourself and prepare yourself to access the deepest place within your consciousness. Just breathe. And we would ask you this question. Why do you want to suffer? Be aware of what comes up for you, and we would ask you again, why do you want to suffer? Ask this of your unconscious mind, that it might be revealed to your conscious awareness. And we would ask for clarification. So prepare to access the deepest level of your consciousness possible for you, and ask again, why do you want to suffer? I ask you to clarify from the deepest place within you, why is suffering necessary? Ask you then a final question. Are you ready to release these ideas to the light of truth? Are you ready to surrender these ideas to the light of truth? You're ready to surrender the energetic patterns and energetic frequencies of these ideas to the light of truth. If so, you may work with a thought form. I surrender all desire for suffering, conscious or unconscious, to the light of truth. I surrender all will to suffer, whether conscious or unconscious, to the light of truth. And breathe. Breathe. And breathe. Breathe and allow God's light to work with you and work through you. Just breathe. Breathe. You have created an opening for God, an opening for grace. So if you choose, you may work with the following thought form. I open myself and allow God's grace to bless me now and forever. I open myself and allow God's grace to bless me now and forever. I open myself and allow God's grace to bless me now and forever. I open myself and allow God's grace to bless me now and forever. I open myself and allow God's grace to bless me now and forever. I open myself and allow God's grace to bless me now and forever. Good. And we would open this session to any questions you might have at this time.